Well, good evening, Rip City. Chris Burkhardt here with you for another edition of Trailblazers Courtside Monday, and one I'm excited about because it's the last one before we get some preseason preseason. We get regular season action on Wednesday. Timberwolves, Blazers, game 1 of 82, and Julio Rodriguez just hit an absolute missile to give the Mariners a 2-1 lead. That's right. We're going to do some live look-ins here when crazy things happen. Game 7 of the ALCS going on. It is easily distracted, which I love when I'm co-hosting a little bit with Chad like I was for the last hour, and there's really, really intriguing sports going on because his focus is like it's right there, and then I'm with him too, and it's tough to get through.
Oh,
It's
totally.
tough
I mean,
to get through.
we think all of Mariner or all of the Pacific Northwest is probably tuned into this. But, Chris, I think we're all good because earlier today when we were playing the Blazers balcony here on Rip City Drive, Casey Holdall, Brooke Olzendam were talking about Washington State this weekend and also mentioned the Mariners. So, it's just circling back everything here in the Pacific Northwest before the Blazers opener, man. But I'm hyped, Chris. Just like you said last hour, let's go.
Yeah, it's fun time. Are the Mariners your team, or do you have a different baseball team?
So I don't really have a quote baseball team. So I'm not sitting here saying, "Hey, I'm rooting for somebody else." Like my family, my brother-in-law and sister, huge Mariner fans. They've kind of been like, "Yo, start watching the Mariners." So I've watched more baseball this year than I probably have in 10 years. So
Right.
I'd like to see the Mariners win for the PNW. And
There you are.
it's like there's I'll put it this way, Chris. There are some similarities to being a Blazer fan and a Mariner fan.
Yeah, there absolutely is. Julio Rodriguez doing his best to grab this team and carry him on his back. Hope he continues to do that, and I hope they get some more runs. I really want to see this. I'm a Red Sox fan. Everyone knows that. Chad is a Dodger fan, but when you grow up in the Pacific Northwest, you root for the Mariners. Like I love Seattle. I try to get out to a game, every year when I can. Very first Mariner game ever was Mariners versus Blue Jays, though. 1998, I believe it was. Battle of the Border.
That's cool.
It ended. I'll never forget it. It ended 1-0 on a solo shot by Jay Buhner. I think it was in the 7th inning. I was sitting in the Boneyard. It was in the Kingdome. It was awesome.
A Kingdome, man. What a poll, Chris.
I've been around for a minute. Now back to the basketball. There's plenty to talk about, even though the Blazers are just getting ready to open up the season, which they will do on Wednesday against the Timberwolves, when we'll have coverage for you starting with Blazers game day at 5:00. There was some big news today. Some of it, I think, a little bit surprising just because we knew it was going to be talked about. We knew there was the potential. We just didn't know if it was going to happen at this point in time because Monday was the deadline for it. And it ended up happening. And that is your Portland Trailblazers signing Shaedon Sharpe to a contract extension. That's a thing of beauty. 4 years, $100 million. And now you have your... Yes, thank you. You have your star guard locked in. And I think the hope is with Shaedon Sharpe is that he takes that big jump and he truly does become a star guard. That's what I just said a second ago, right? Was him being a star. I think he showed the potential for that. It's just a matter of really, really tapping into it. And during the preseason, absolutely showed that he can be the number one guy on the offense. Now, if he takes a big jump this year, and he is out there scoring you 25 points per night, you did great. At the end of the day, if he is not your mega star, you still are basically just paying him general starting guard money. And that's not a terrible thing. That is not a terrible thing. There are some players out there that are going to be making fat bags of cash to not produce. So if you're getting a starting level player on that contract, you're good. And if you get a star level player on that contract, you're great. Love this deal from Joe Cronin. Brenden is giving me the eyes, which I'm in the... Chad has it lucky. He's taller than I am, so he can see your whole face. To me, you just look like Mr. Wilson in Home Improvement when he's at the fence and you just see the top from his nose up.
Just ahead.
It's the life I have as a shorty. But the eyes said you got something to add. So what you got, my friend?
Yeah, just from hearing Chad kind of talk about it with Hyken earlier and talk about the value, Chris. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is less money than what Joe Cronin signed Anthony Simons to. I believe that was 4 years, $100 million. Again, if I'm mistaken, please correct me. But just as far as like the numbers that came out, I don't think they're gargantuan numbers. Like Portland was paying Anthony Simons roughly that amount of money for not all-star production. So like to go even less with a guy who I think has way more potential, no offense to Ant, of course, but a much higher ceiling. I kind of like that, Chris.
Yeah, I think you've seen some of these numbers buoy down a little bit, and I think some teams are still going to be a little, not very smart with their money and just throw it around when they can. But some teams are going to be a little bit smarter with it, and I think that's what Portland is doing here. And you're right. You look at the deal that Anthony Simons signed. It was a 4-year, $100 million contract on July 6th of 2022. And so if you do inflation on that and you look to a deal now being signed in 2025 and it's the same deal, I think that's a value move for a guy that does have a ton of potential. I think the difference between Ant and Shae to me is that Shae, I think, really does have that number one guy potential in him. We haven't seen it yet, but I think it's there. Ant, he played number one for us, but he just wasn't a true number one. You put him in a spot where he is, playing Robin to Batman, or, maybe he's Nightwing and comes in and helps too, the third guy there. He's in a really good spot. But also with Ant, if you're paying him $25 million and he's not a star, but he's a competent, good starting guard in this league, which he is, that's still a decent contract, which it was. So I think Shae is in a pretty good spot. Now, on the other side of that, you get real good value, and that is Toumani Camara, who also was re-signed to an extension here at 4 years, $82 million, I believe was the number. I like that. I like that a lot. We're talking about a guy who was top 10 in defensive player of the year rating, who was second team all NBA defense. Offense is getting better, and that was year two. That was year two. To put that in perspective, Dyson Daniels of the Atlanta Hawks signed an extension today as well. 4 years, $100 million, which I think's fair for him. But he is a first team all defense, second in defensive player of the year ratings last year when Toumani came in ninth, and he was the most improved player. Averages a few more points than Toumani Camara. And I'm sitting there going, okay, difference between second team defense and first team defense is marginal. You're still one of the top 10 defenders in the league by that metric. Defensive player of the year voting, that is what it is. I think even finishing in the top 10 is great. Most improved player, that is every single year. You're going to have someone who makes that jump. Maybe this year it's Toumani Camara. My point is the difference between Dyson Daniels on paper almost $20 million over 4 years more value than Toumani Camara? And I think for what the Blazers have, the Blazers need, I don't necessarily think so. Say that I'm looking through this with rose-colored glasses. I don't care. I love Toumani Camara. I think that is an absolute value signing, a value deal. Again, Dyson Daniels may be a little bit better than Toumani. Dyson Daniels also just completed year 3. So he's got an extra year on Toumani Camara.
And those guys are a couple years different in age too, right? So you almost wonder if that matters with two being 25. And I believe Dyson either just turned 22 or going to turn 20.
He's 22.
So
and that
that's
matters.
part of it too.
Yeah, that matters. And Toumani, again, I think he's only going to get better. And Dyson Daniels, heck, he might be a steal by the end of it too if he continues the upward trajectory. I love these deals though, because they could have we're just going to sign those 5 years fat max deals. Give me all the money. Didn't have that. Now that's what Keegan Murray got in Sacramento. What was it? A 5-year 140. I don't know if that's what I want to be giving him. I don't know if that's what I would want to give Shaedon Sharpe. I don't know if that's what I would want to give Toumani Camara. But the deals that they did just sign, I think, are really, really good, and they help the team out. As Kirk says in the chat, what a GM cooking. Yeah, Joe is cooking. Joe is cooking a real good meal right now. If you open up your door out your back porch right now, just take a whiff, you can smell it. Joe Cronin knows what he's doing when he's out there in the pits. He's a pit master, okay? Sorry, my wife and I have been watching a lot of the Great American Barbecue Show on Netflix. It makes me very, very hungry every time I watch it. And my birthday's in a few weeks, and if anyone wants to buy me a smoker so I can learn to make some fat, beautiful briskets, be my guest. But the point is, regardless of my hunger levels now, is that yeah, I think these are smart deals with the way things are going around the league, the way the money's been throwing around. Getting some of these really good players not on the maximum amount you have to pay them is good. It's good for everybody in the long run. I don't like this idea that every single time any player is about to hit the market that oh yeah, I'm a max level player. No, you're not. No, you're not. Because not all of you are the best player in the league at your position or even a top 5 player at that. But everyone thinks they deserve a max because they put in their time. No, the max should be left for the max, and then you start going down that tier level. And you know what? If Shae is a max type player by the end of this, then give him that Brinks truck. Just give him the bank account. Blank check it. Hey, you put in whatever number you want. There's money in the account. It's okay. You can go cash it. But for what it is right now, I think it's a good value deal. This also sets the Blazers up very, very well moving into the next offseason. Tax numbers play out very well for them to have a lot of money to play with. They're also going to get Damian Lillard back next year on a very team-friendly deal as well. And one thing that I think is a little underrated in getting these two guys locked up right now is now Joe Cronin can look at this offseason already. Because you don't wait till the offseason to start thinking offseason. You got to prep. But he can look at this offseason without a lot of question marks of, oh, okay, do we sign Toumani Camara? What kind of money is Shaedon Sharpe going to command on the open market? We didn't sign him, so now he's a restricted free agent. We have to keep enough money around just in case he signs a bigger deal than we expect, and we intend to match it because we don't want him to go anywhere. Yeah, you had your restricted free agent rights, and you can take on more money than normal, but it's going to mess with your books in doing so. Now you know what your guys are getting paid. You know what money you're going to have to deal, and you might even get more with Jeremy Grant or Drew Holiday down the line. Not saying you need to trade them or they're planning to, just saying those are contracts that can help you. And now you hit the offseason going, okay, we know exactly what we want. We know exactly what we need, and we have built that flexibility to get it. That's wonderful.
One question I had for you, Chris, because you and I were obviously discussing this a little bit behind the scenes last week as we're working preseason games. Were you surprised it was 4 years, not 5 for Shae?
Yes, a little bit, because I thought that number, because I think the max he would have been was right there with Keegan, so it was the 5-year, 140, 150 mil range.
For sure.
You are afforded the ability to get him those 5th years, but now the 4, it absolutely makes sense to me to do that. Do you want him locked up longer? Sure, but I also think maybe that's betting on yourself a little bit and seeing what you can do. So, yeah, I get what that is there. Of course, there's also the different rules. I know the new CBA's changed a bunch of that because I was dropping knowledge on someone the other day and then got corrected. I'm like, oh, sorry, old habits die hard, my friend. But I mean, obviously, the differences between being what you can sign as a free agent versus the extension, there may be some differences in there. But no, 4 years, I'll take it. I'll take it all day long on a deal that I think at the end of the day is pretty friendly if he continues to ascend as we think he's going to. I think that this year's going to be clutch for him. I think he has showed that he can go and score and be relied upon in the preseason. Do that for 82 games. Like I said, you're building this team on defense because that's a steal, my friend. Shout out to the Twitter follower who said, I don't necessarily think this deal means defense, but, I do think they're building in that direction. And I was like, hey, there was a joke in there. Like, it was a steal. That's a defense thing. Dad joke. I laughed. All right, if you want to join the conversation, 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. And, of course, you can go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, and join the chat there. The show carries on after the break, where we're going to dissect this team a little bit. I want to dive into who I think is going to be the team MVP, team's most improved, team 6-man, all that type of stuff, looking ahead to the regular season. Chris Burkhardt here, Brenden Slaughter joining me on the other side of the glass. We'll be back after the break right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Welcome back into Courtside Monday. Chris Burkhardt here with you. If you want to join the conversation, 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. And of course, you can go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio. Remember last week, Brenden, when I was making all sorts of college football jokes about my dynasty that I'm in and the guy who didn't want to take his Xbox because he was a bum? Yeah, well,
Of course, yeah, it was good talk.
he finally came back. Didn't even turn his Xbox on, pretended like it didn't exist. He was mad at us for picking on him. But he had a user game to play. Temple was his opponent. Our friend Timmy Hammock plays for FIU. Well, I just want to say Temple tough. Temple put the bricks on him, beat him hard, made him remember the night they played the Owls, just like the Titans, right? I don't want them to gain another yard. It was like that. It was brutal. But for us, it was a thing of beauty. So shout out Temple Tough. That football game is so fun. It's still fun. It has not lost its luster for me. How many national championships have the Beavers won?
Oh, I want to say we got to, Chris, I'll be honest, I wasn't one of them loyal to the Soils. Like I got us like 3 titles, and I'm like, okay, like Oregon's, like if I was an Oregon State fan, we got 3 titles, like yeah, no shame for the coach moving on. So I think I went to Bama after that and won a few more.
Okay.
I mean, you know how it is, Chris. You can turn Oregon State into an absolute stud of a program. But they're still not going to have as many recruiting hours as those other schools. And you know me, I'm all about signing that #1 recruiting class.
That is true, but that is true. All right. Update in Toronto, Seattle with a 2-1 lead after a shot by Julio Rodriguez last inning. Runner on second, 2 out. Julio on deck. So see if they can get something done here. What a time to be a Mariner fan. Brenden and I were talking. They better be putting that scoreboard update, a little live look in during that Seahawks game which kicks off in a half hour up in Seattle. Like, oh man,
the 12s are going to be out of control, man. Especially with the Mariners winning and like the fact that, I mean, just doing the math, Chris. Unless we go to 15 innings again, this game will be over before the Seahawks game is. Wow, if the Mariners win, you might see Beastquake 2.0 come out of CenturyLink because I guarantee Seahawks fans are Mariner fans, right? Like it's one of the same.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
They're all Seattle guys. Come on.
One of the same, man. So I think that'd be pretty cool.
I do love me some postseason baseball. That is for sure. All right, now back on to the Blazers talk. First off, it's Kirk in the chat said I saw a Drew Holiday trade rumor to the Heat for Terry Rozier, Jaime Jaquez Jr., and some draft capital, to which I just say no. I think if you're going to trade Drew Holiday at any point, you're going to get way more value than the ghost of Terry Rozier and Jaime Jaquez Jr., who only one fan base thinks is an absolute stud, and that is the Miami Heat fan base. They were trying to sell us that used car during the Dame trade. Oh, he's really good. Look what you guys missed because he had a good rookie year, and then he fell off last year. So do I like Jaime Jaquez? Yes, I think he's a good player. He's a good fit, very good rotational guy. Not what I'm doing right now for Drew Holiday. Also, we haven't even watched a regular season game tip off yet, so let's not worry about the trade rumors. Like, I love these aggregate sites, like, oh, trade rumors that can help every team, despite the fact we haven't seen them play a regular season game and know what they'll actually look like this year. And no, I would not trade Denny Avdia for Lowry Markkanen. Like, come on, let's just. Realism here is a thing. I think too many people go and load in NBA 2K and turn off trade logic and then turn off financial rules and then turn on trade override. Oh yeah, I traded Blake Wesley for LeBron James straight up. Gamelet. I mean, it's a fair trade. Now, tell you the ESPN trade machine has doomed us as a society. Oh, but it works financially. Yeah, but it doesn't work logically. Logic matters here as well. So I don't think that's a trade that happens. Does Drew Holiday get traded? Perhaps at some point. I wholeheartedly believe that Drew Holiday will be in a Blazer uniform to start next season. There is value in having him. There's value in having him playing next to Dame. You've already seen how effectively he can run the offense when you need him to. I wholeheartedly believe that's a spot for him. And then if you go, everybody's healthy, you go into a rotation next year where Dame and Scooter, your point guards, Drew and Shae are your shooting guards. I like that. And Drew is crazy big. Like he can play multiple positions for you because he can guard wherever you put him. And there's still going to be teams that like him. I mean, the what where I could be wrong is there could be a big push come trade deadline or a big push during the offseason because part of the reason you're seeing these trade rumors for Drew Holiday is because pretty much any team who has playoff aspirations would want a guy like that, which is why Portland has him right now. I still think a logical landing spot, if there's moves to happen, is Houston. That's the one that's been floated around just as a hearsay a little bit, just because of the Fred Van Vliet injury. But you pair him with KD, that coaching staff, that young core. That's a good team, but only if you get a fat haul in return. I'm talking you need first round picks, multiple type stuff. I would do that. And if you think, okay, it was Ant was traded out and you got Drew Holiday back, not a lot of capital had to be sent out to get him, and then you could turn around and get picks for him. Yeah, that goes back to the whole go outside, open your door, take a whiff because you can smell what Joe Cronin's cooking. I don't like everyone asks, do you smell what the Rock is cooking? No, even the Rock is like, do you use it? Oh, Joe Cronin's cooking something. Oh man, he's putting my barbecue to shame. Like I like what Joe's doing right now. All right, now it's time though. I said I wanted to dive into this roster, look at things ahead of this season, and kind of what do I expect to see from this Trailblazers team. And I think you're going to see a very, very competitive team and a team that does not go down without a fight. I was on the We Have a Take podcast yesterday with Tara Bowen Biggs and Rose. You got to go out, listen to it. They are wonderful. And we were talking about this upcoming season and what we expect. And what I said about this team was over the last few years, this team has been the get right game for every team who was struggling. Oh, you've lost 5 in a row. Good thing you're playing Portland. It's a get right game. Oh, your offense has been struggling over the last week. Good thing you're playing Portland. It's a get right game. Portland has been the get right game for everyone for the last few years. And now I think Portland is not that anymore. They're going to be competitive all year long. You're going to put your best foot forward. You're going to try to win games. You're not going to be an easy out. And respect to all the players who have played here. If you are putting your best foot forward, you're not starting Delano Banton and Dwap Reith and City Sissoko. Love those guys. But if you're starting them, you know what you're in for. It's not necessarily their fault, but they can only go so far because if they're starting, that means there's no depth behind them. So now you're going to put your best foot forward. Winning is the goal. You're not trying to actively tank. I don't think you're going to be the easy out anymore, and that's a good thing. And with that, I think it's going to come some very, very good performances from this team. So let's look at what I think. I got to stop saying that. I say I think too much. But let's take a look at my picks for some awards for this team. My early season picks, we will reevaluate this, at the end of the year, see how good I was. But let's start with just, I think sixth man is a good spot to start. And this is going to be controversial, but there might be people who eat their words at some point. Jeremy Grant's going to have a good year off the bench. If he understands his role, accepts it, and owns it. A lot of caveats there. A lot of caveats. We were breaking down some numbers with some Blazer fans today. Jeremy Grant, I think there was only 5 players in the league last year who took 6 or more catch and shoot threes per game. Jeremy Grant was one of them, and he shot 37% on those catch and shoot threes. So you put him in a position to be your catch and shoot guru. That's a good spot to be in. Everyone talked about how great Anthony Simons was at the catch and shoot. He shot 37%. Everyone talked about how great Tamani Kamara looked all year in that same aspect. He shot 37%. They each did it on 4 attempts per game. Jeremy Grant, an extra 2 attempts per game, still kept up that shooting pace. For some perspective, though, the most catch and shoot attempts was Lowry Markkanen at almost 8 per game. He shot just 35%. And the best percentage-wise in the league was Kevin Durant, who shot 45% on catch and shoot threes. If you're going to get the ball moving around, as Coach Billups has said, then catch and shoot's going to be a part of that. And I think if you build your roster out, you're probably going starting the year. It's Drew, it's Shae, it's Tumani, it's Denny, it's DC. That's your starting five. And that leaves your bench with Blake Wesley early, Scoot when he comes back healthy. You got Thiessen there. You have Robert Williams, who are both cleared for full contact today, which is great. Don't know what their status is for Wednesday, but it's a great status moving forward as we hope to get a full roster in. So you just start to see how your depth plays out. It's Jeremy Grant or it's Scoot. And Jeremy Grant, if you can hit those shots and accept your role, he's a sixth-man type. Most improved player on this roster. I'm handing that one out to a guy. If he sees a big jump worthy of that award, it's a very good thing for Portland. Donovan Clingan. Last year, we saw great defense out of him. Offense was suspect. If he builds on that offense and can become consistently giving you 10 points a night with his 12 rebounds and 3 or 4 block shots, that's a darn good starting center. Not to mention, if you're playing 28, 30 minutes a night, not 12 to 15, there's value in that, my friend. So I'm leaning on Donovan Clingan to be the most improved. Couple of awards that don't need too much of a deep dive, but if you're doing like a defensive player of the year for your Trailblazers, Tumani Kamara. I think he makes the jump, and there's a very good chance that if he makes that jump, you're looking at an NBA first team defense. That would be nice. Year 3, go and get that. Tell him it was worth paying me this money. Look what I did. I wouldn't be shocked, though, if this team is as good defensively as Coach has said they can be, that they don't get 2 players on the postseason team. Maybe 1 first teamer, 1 second teamer, because you also got Drew Holiday, who I still think it's an absolute travesty. The Marcus Smart was the first guard since Gary Payton to win Defensive Player of the Year, because during the entire time that Marcus Smart was locking people down, the best guard defender in the entire league was Drew Holiday, and he still might be. I can't wait to watch him for a full season. Those guys are going to be in contention for that. The real question, Rookie of the Year is going to go to Young Hansen, by the way. He might win the entire thing. Cooper Flagg, overrated. I say that in jest. Cooper Flagg's really freaking good, but Young Hansen's awesome. But the most improved player, or not, excuse me, the MVP for your Trailblazers, and I'm going to get Brendan's thoughts on this too. I want to see where he goes, because there's a couple candidates. There is a couple candidates. Last year, it was between Denny and 2. I probably leaned towards Denny last year. And they're going to be in the conversation again for the team's MVP. But he just got paid. He's been handed the keys a little bit to go be the go-to scorer. And he still has a lot riding on his shoulders. I hope that at the end of the year, I'm right, and the most valuable player on this team is Shaedon Sharpe. If Shaedon Sharpe is out there just dropping buckets, dunking on cats, giving you 25 a night, and everything else falls into place, then that is a team who's reaching their goals and aspirations of being a playoff team. It might just be the 8th seed, but you're reaching your goals and moving forward of being a playoff team. So that's my pick, because it's what I hope to be the MVP. Brendan, I want your take on MVP.
So back to the original crux of your question, just who I think is going to be MVP or who I would want to be MVP.
Well, they can be one and the same. Who do you think is going to be MVP? Mine, I think he will be it because I want it.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a couple different ways you could go. I mean, before his injury, I would have totally tagged Scoot Henderson this year. I thought the breakout might have been coming for him. MVP, maybe not so much, but as far as a breakout goes. But Shaedon, with what we've seen from Shaedon, I think that's a pretty good pick. I think we could see Tumani Kamara take another step in his game where it's like, he was already all defense last year. But how about he starts, chipping in, 15, 16 points a game and kind of becomes that true, cliche term, 3-and-D threat. But yeah, I think Shaden probably, if you were hold my feet to the fire, be where I'd go. But with a strong case for two, because I think even though he got paid yesterday, Chris, like I still feel like Tumani Kamara is undervalued and underrated by the NBA. And I'm like, I just say to fans, see preseason game one when there was not like, we all know this, like preseason games, the results don't matter. And Tumani Kamara's picking up Steph Curry full court in preseason game one. So I just love I love his mentality, his mindset. He is a guy, Chris, that I think one of these years is going to, I don't think there's a whole lot of guys that always play all 82, but he might try to push for all 82. Like that's the kind of toughness that he is too. And I like that. So I'd say I'll follow with you, Shaden, and then maybe runner up Tumani Kamara.
Yeah, I probably, if you're sitting there as an odds maker, it'd probably be something like Denny, then Shae is your favorites.
And I could see a good year from Denny too. Yeah. It's curious to me exactly.
I need to say Denny as well, because when we're talking about Tumani Kamara, I mean
touche, Chris. There's another one, right? I mean, Denny could be in that mix. I mean, let's not forget. Down the stretch of last season, Chris, wasn't he averaging over 20 points a game? I mean, he was looking like a dog out there. And, yeah, I mean, I could see him having a big year too. Is it one of the or big year as well? I couldn't, is he going to have the ball in his hands maybe more with, Jrue Holiday if he's not, running the show as far as that backup point guard? Maybe we see Denny start to rack up more assists this year. So there's a lot of ambiguity and there's still a lot of things that can kind of be or still happen yet with this Blazers squad, which got me excited.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kirk chimed in on the YouTube chat. You guys can get over there too, youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio. That, most improved MVP, Scoot Henderson. I really want it. And Scoot, unfortunately, is just out of sight, out of mind. Hasn't been playing, hasn't been practicing, nursing back from that unfortunate hamstring injury. But out of sight, out of mind might be a good thing because he's poised for a breakout year too. Everyone was talking about him, the great offseason he had. And he could take that ball and run with it. I'm not about, like, if he comes in and he's your most improved player this year, that's pretty good. I will take that all day long. I threw Jeremy out there because at least Jeremy's going to have a jump playing the first few weeks the Scoot isn't playing. But the guy that's probably going to be here 2-3 years from now, if he's that's a good thing. That's a real good thing. And out of sight, out of mind, you look at this Blazer team and you forget that Scoot Henderson could be back, in a month or two, depending on how he nurses back from that injury. He was at practice today, seen taking some shots. That's good. But Matisse Thybulle's been out of sight, out of mind. Robert Williams been out of sight, out of mind. I know Robert Williams' availability has always been questioned, but his talent has not. His talent has not. And if he's healthy, you got a real good center rotation with DC and Robert Williams. If Matisse is healthy, you got an incredible rotation, throwing him and Tumani at the 3 or throwing Tease at the 2 whenever you need to mix some things up. You got great defensive lineups. Jeremy is good defensively, and you pair him with Jrue Holiday, and you pair him with Matisse Thybulle, and you pair him with Tumani Kamara, and you pair him with Rob Will or DC.
Ooh.
That's a defensive lineup for days. So you got that. And then, of course, you got Scoot. Blake Wesley, I think, is going to get some run there at that backup guard spot, which is great for him. I love having him as your third depth guy because when these injuries happen, you can trust him to go play, and he's good on the defensive side. But then you have Scoot and the ability to go out there and improve his game, both offensively and defensively. There's a lot to like. But nothing more to like than that absolute missile that Cal Raleigh just hit out of the ballpark over the right field fence. Solo shot.
Big dumper.
In the top of the 5th inning. Big dumper gives the Mariners a 3-1 lead in Toronto.
Woo.
Game 7 of the ALCS. We'll take a quick little break when we come back. Take one final look at what we expect to see from this team on Wednesday and a few games after that as the regular season is almost here. The show carries on after the break here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Welcome back into Courtside Monday. Chris Burkhardt here with you, joined by Brenden Slaughter. Butcher and the Slaughter in full swing here. Full swing, no pun intended, as we do have Game 7 of the ALCS up on the TV. 3-0 lead for your Seattle Mariners in the bottom of the fifth. It's a big game. Biggest game in franchise history right here. A chance to go to their first World Series ever. I always love when you see a team get there for the first time. Pretty awesome. Like it's like the NBA Finals. Oklahoma City, Indiana, winner of that wins their first. That's right. Don't try to tell me that those Seattle Supersonic titles belong to Oklahoma. Nope. Don't come at me with that. Oh, do love baseball though. Really rooting for this game. Mariners bring it home. As I said with Chad, if you get the Mariners versus the Dodgers, then you have to absolutely lean into Ichiro Mania again. He has to be throwing out the first pitch. He needs to be in the ballpark. Make him an honorary manager or something. Because between Ichiro Mania and Shohei Ohtani, you will have the most viewed World Series in Japan history. Like that would be absolutely phenomenal. I loved Ichiro. I loved Ichiro. That guy, so good. Mechanically sound, absolute rocket of an arm. He was good. Those early 2000 teams, even though he's roided up, Brett Boone was fun. Little bat flip. Oh, baseball's great. You know what else is great though, fans? Basketball. Basketball's phenomenal. I love this sport. Love this sport. I played baseball growing up. I played football growing up. I dabbled in basketball. Played a few years in middle school. Wasn't good enough to play in high school. But then I started covering it professionally a decade ago. And the more I watched it and the more I learned about it, love this sport. I love the NBA. Wouldn't want to cover another one, another sport that is. And so the fact that the season kicks off on Wednesday has me excited, has me revved up, ready to go. I haven't I have not looked forward to a season opening game this much in years. It's been a while. Last few years they were exciting because you had young guys and you're like, okay, we get a little bit of the unknown. What is this team going to be like? They're probably going to tank, but we get a chance to see these young guys grow. This year, expectation. There is an expectation that this team is going to be competitive, an expectation that this team is going to be a play-in team, if not more. And that excites me. I think it's also exciting the chance that on Wednesday you're going to get to hear Damian Lillard introed because they go down, do the whole entire roster. That is going to be a roar to end all roars. It's going to be phenomenal to be in that building. And then to see what this team can do. A team that I think is a 40-42 team, which would be an improvement upon last year, which would be hitting on the over for their win total if you're a betting man. And that's good. That's showing the growth, and that's showing that you're building something moving forward. And I've already said this to you, but out of the gate, it's a gauntlet. It's a gauntlet. First two games of the season on Wednesday and Friday, you're seeing the Minnesota Timberwolves, and then you're seeing the Golden State Warriors. Golden State, a team that has been your nemesis for years, and the Minnesota Timberwolves that are good. And of course, Golden State, you already had to play them twice, lost to them twice in the preseason. A chance to get one right. But that's right out of the gate. Now, gut tells me they win that game Wednesday. Home opener, vibes are good. The return of Dame, a packed Moda Center. You take care of business. You take care of business in the home opener. Outside of that, it's going to be rough. That Golden State game might be an L. And then you hit the road. The Clippers, the Lakers, and the Jazz. The Jazz, by the way, I just saw they announced that they have expanded their reach for their digital product. Now, like most of Oregon is Utah Jazz available. I don't believe that impacts Blazer Vision or any of that. We did
Interesting.
Sean has been working on that, but yeah, they basically go all the way up into Idaho, Eastern Washington, Eastern Oregon is all Jazz
Who do
territory.
you think
for their
y'all are
product.
in Salt Lake?
Well, I mean, if you're in Ontario, Oregon, you're probably closer to Salt Lake City than you are Portland. So
Not when the Rip City rallies go out there, Burkhardt.
Hey, Rip City rallies are awesome. They are awesome. But that's your first 5 games. And that is against 4 teams that are playoff teams and then a Jazz team that no one knows what direction they're going. They did beat you in the preseason, though. So you get through the first 5 games. If you're 2-3, probably expected. 3-2, real good spot. After that, home against Denver, the Lakers again, and Oklahoma City. Is a homestand where you might win 1 game. That's unfortunate. On the road, for some games you can pick up. Miami, Orlando, New Orleans. Win, win, win. Do that. That'd be great. Then you do end that trip with Houston and Dallas. Not so tough. But the point is, there's some winnable games here. Take advantage and then shock some people. It's going to be a tough go out of the gate for this team. Win, lose, don't matter. I'm excited for it. Music means it's time to go, though. Blazers take on the Timberwolves on Wednesday. Tip off at 7. I will have game day for you at 5. Until then, as always, Rib City, I love you.